lump them in with the tiny minority of people who took advantage of a tragic moment.
That's it for now. More in an hour.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA. Download the new AA app to request a roadside rescue and track the patrol right to your car.
Mostly cloudy tonight with some showers, overnight lows of 9 to 13 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Hello there. Well, it's been 100 days exactly since I've said this to you, but there is a Premier League game on right now. It's at Villa Park. It's 0-0 between Aston Villa and Sheffield United. A classic to get us back underway. 0-0. It's been dreadful, frankly. But that's the Premier League as we know and love it. Good news is there is another one on the way. We will bring you commentary from Manchester of City against Arsenal. Nathan Murphy and Brian Kerr back on the radio calling a football game coming your way. 8:15 kickoff, unusual kickoff times at the moment. We're rejigging things. 8:15 kickoff. 53106 is the text number. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. That's not all, folks. That is not all. The excitement keeps on coming because here in studio for the first time in months, really, I am looking at you, Richie McCormack. You're welcome back, Richie.
Jake Humphreys will be disgusted with me for I am here, sat in the comfy chair, Joe. I kind of used to being hunched over the desk, kind of looking down at my laptop. But here I am, sat in this easy chair as if I'm about to interview you and ask you what skills you can bring to this job over the course of the next 5 years.
Well, my biggest weakness is I'm a workaholic.
You just don't know where the off switch is, Joe. That's the problem.
Hey, good to have you back.
Thank
It's been
you.
a strange time. It's been weird doing this via Skype. I know in some ways for you it's been quite nice with the feet up and a cup of coffee in your room.
Yep.
But it's been ever so lonely here. So here we are at a social distance, face to face.
They mapped it out earlier on. I was informed over the phone last night and I was told a couple of times today as if to just ram the point home and leave them legally in the clear in here. Apparently I am 2.5 metres away from you as we sit.
Okay.
So that's all good.
I was told initially you would be behind Perspex, and I'm not sure that would have been a great look.
There's people obviously won't know out here, but there's the Perspex all throughout the office.
Sure.
And it's just the most bizarre thing. We kind of all feel like we're all in our little individual cages behind the desks because you've got one desk facing another, but there's a big Perspex thing. Like, it's a great era for the people in the signage business or people selling Perspex.
Well, I'm told there's a worldwide shortage of Perspex at the moment.
Judging by what they've done out there, I'm not surprised.
But for that very reason, every single office in the land and beyond needs Perspex right now.
It's mad.
If you're in the mask business or the Perspex business, times are good. If you're in the Premier League business, time's not so bad. So we're underway. There is a Premier League game on. Ronan Mullen joins us from his home. Hello.
Joe, how are things?
We're having a party here in studio and you're not here.
Hashtag cans.
Looks good. I think one of the common refrains at the start of this football famine, you might remember, was people on Twitter saying, never again will I complain about unglamorous games like Aston Villa against Sheffield United. And judging by my Twitter timeline, I think most people are very engaged with this game, complaining about VAR decisions. So it feels like football never went away.
I'll be honest, I glanced at my Twitter and saw too many people trying to be funny about a football match again, and it turned me right off both. But I'm going to ease my way back in. Manchester City,
Also,
Arsenal, I can get on board with. Sorry.
The crowd noise aspect of it, people deciding whether to listen to the canned crowd noise or not. I know you and Richie are probably at this stage experts in the art of watching games with no volume, having spent so many weekends in that studio. So you've got that down to a fine art.
And what did you go for? Is the initial offering from Sky, as in if I turn on Sky, and I see I'm a Virgin customer, so I don't have red button options. So what's my default? Is it no crowd?
On Sky Sports, so if you're on the main event channel, you're getting the canned crowd noise. If you're on the Premier League channel itself, it's no crowd noise. So those are your two options.
That's clever.
And I think it was going fine for the first few minutes, and then Conor Heron had a reasonably good chance, and the crowd went wild, Joe. So they kind of misfired a little bit on that one. But I'm sure over the course of a couple of games, they'll be able to master it.
I've been running around doing a few bits and pieces. Have you seen much of the game? Am I being a bit harsh? Is it fairly pedestrian, or what's it been like?
The pace, much like the Bundesliga games, I've been surprised with how quickly the games get into a rhythm. I would have thought, just given the unusual alien circumstances, that it might take a bit more getting used to. But if you're watching it with no volume, as I was, it just seems to be a normal Premier League game. And I think the most noteworthy thing, as you might imagine, was the players in their entirety taking the knee at the initial whistle. So that's kind of what captures the imagination, and it was quite a sight. You know, the uniformity of it, and not just certain players, everybody, including the match officials. So I think that'll be an enduring image for years to come.
So this was after a minute silence. Do they have a minute silence? They did.
Minute silence first, kick off, and then everybody collectively, officials included, took a knee around the pitch. And I think it was, for about 20 seconds
after
kickoff.
kickoff.
Yeah, after kickoff.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd imagine, because there was a joint statement ready to go from both Sheffield United and Aston Villa, which they released shortly afterwards, which is out there in the realm now. And I'd imagine Manchester City and Arsenal will probably do similar later on. Seems to be that there's obviously a bit of collaboration and some talking going on behind the scenes to facilitate this, because I guess if one side was doing it and the other one wasn't, it could be chaos. But I think everybody wants to go out of their way to make the extra gesture this time around.
Right. So I suppose that will be the norm for the first round of matches, Ronan, and then we might see where it goes. Where, I mean, I would presume Premier League clubs are of the view that they can't come together for joint taking of the knees indefinitely. So first round of matches, perhaps, and then it might be up to individual players. Either way, it's a far more political landscape than top flight football has ever been, and where it goes over the coming weeks is going to be one of the more fascinating subplots.
Yeah, and it's an image that's gone around the world even in the last hour. I know Sports Centre led off with that image, and the uniformity of it, as I mentioned, is key. Tyrone Mings has been very vocal on this issue for a couple of years now, but the fact that every player on the pitch from all different backgrounds kind of joined in this together in unison, I think that is the key to this. Unlike previous movements, it needs to be everybody. There needs to be a buy-in across the board, and hopefully this is a sign of things to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's the legacy of Colin Kaepernick, isn't it? Which is quite extraordinary. He really is the most significant. As soon as Harry Edwards said that a couple of weeks ago on the show, it struck me as profoundly true that Kaepernick is the most significant athlete of his generation. He has really, it's resulted in an entire country initially, and then right across the world, so many people just taking a knee. It's quite extraordinary, and probably does mean more from a player's perspective, as opposed to them being thrown a kick it out t-shirt pre-game, which means nothing to them. They put it on thoughtlessly and they jog around and do their thing. Whereas the act of taking a knee is something they will all have had to think about and ask themselves why they're doing it. So that's been the story at Villa Park. As I said, we have Manchester City against Arsenal incoming for you, 8:15. Richie, let's kick off this news round. And I should say that the OTB Sports app, now that we have live sport back, as well as being your place to go for all off-the-ball content, podcasts, videos, articles, news. We'll also have live scores. So if you're looking for a place to go and get live updates, live scores, then download the app. OTB Sports is what you search in your app store, and it's waiting for you there. Richie, you're starting obviously with the news of the ongoing Premier League game. Second half now?
Yeah, second half is underway. 3 minutes played in the second period at Villa Park. Still Aston Villa 0, Sheffield United 0 Villa, with the most recent attack there. The main talking point from the game so far, aside from the collective knee taken by both sets of players and indeed the officials just after kick-off, is that Sheffield United should be a goal up, and goal line technology has essentially failed the officials there. 3 minutes before the break, there was a set piece from Sheffield United. The ball was collected by Orion Nyland in the Villa goal and then subsequently carried over the line. The goal line technology failed to trigger on the officials' wrist piece, his watch, and then there was no subsequent challenge via VAR. So no goal. This is going to be a contentious one, because essentially we have goal line technology in place to avoid such things. Plenty of Irish involvement, of course. Conor Harahan starting him in field for Aston Villa. John Egan and Enda Stevens in the starting 11 for Sheffield United, and fresh off his new contract signing, David McGoldrick is on the bench for the Blades.
You know the way we talk about contentious things?
Yes.
Do you think, even in the short term, okay, I'm realistic to know in the long term, that our perspectives will return to their general baseline? Yeah. But even in the short term, do you think contentious decisions, because we're still talking about a country where thousands most likely will die of this disease, that contentious decisions will be seen with a newfound perspective, i.e. the managers will come out and say, hey, look, you know, we're thinking of frontline workers, okay, it should have been a goal, but it doesn't matter? Or will they be as irate and entitled as ever?
I don't think they'll be as entitled. I don't think there'll be the same throwing of toys out of the pram. But I think there is, for all the nonsense talk of lifting the national mood with games being back on, that clearly is not going to happen with a 0-0 draw between Villa and Sheffield United. But the idea of having something else to talk about, like, what's one of the main reasons you hear for people wanting to progress stages of lockdown or to move on to the next phase or to see such and such change in their favour is almost a sense of boredom, that some people are done with this. Regardless of how many people are dying, it's perverse. But that seems to be some people's attitude. So the very fact that they'll have a goal that should have been given in the very first match back will be some kind of weird sucker to them.
I just don't know if it can cue outrage anymore, you know?
I don't think we're going to see Jose Mourinho storming off after 17 seconds of a post-match interview anytime soon.
I mean, in a year, yes, we'll all be back.
Not now.
We'll take everything for granted, like nobody's business. But even just for the remainder of this season, I wonder will there be a different mood.
Cuddly Jose came in at Spurs. He started to turn sour towards the end, or before a halt was called to play. And we're going to have Cuddly Jose back now when Spurs finally take to the field in a couple of days' time.
So we have confirmation now of Ireland-Slovakia. This is, needless to say, a huge game.
Yeah, it is indeed, and it's going to be taking place on October the 8th. The subsequent final against either Northern Ireland or Bosnia-Herzegovina will come on November 12th. This all the result of a UEFA Executive Committee meeting today. Stephen Kenny's first game in charge will still be a Nations League encounter. The game against Bulgaria away is likely to be Kenny's first match in charge with Finland, the visitors. Then a couple of days later, the Nations League is going to keep its original fixtures day plan. Meanwhile, another upshot of that meeting today, the Executive Committee, Irish sides qualified for Europe face a tightrope walk. All qualifiers except the Champions League playoff round will be single leg affairs, with the team drawn first given home advantage. Dundalk are going to enter the Champions League at the first qualifying round stage at August the 18th or 19th, while Bohemians, Derry City and Shamrock Rovers will all enter the Europa League in the first qualifying round on August the 27th. The weird quirk of that is that the next Champions League season will get underway while the current Champions League season is still completing. From the 7th and 8th of August, they're going to be based out of Lisbon for the remaining last 16 ties that have to be played. They're also going to play the quarterfinals and semi-finals on a single leg basis, and the final will be on August 23rd. 4 German cities are going to host the quarterfinals onwards of the Europa League, with the final on August 21st. Gelsenkirchen, Duisburg, Frankfurt and Cologne will be the cities to host those matches. Cologne will host the final.
So Slovakia, October 8th, it's a Thursday. I flicked ahead several months to
I
check.
wrote
I was
it
that
down.
excited. I was like, this is amazing. What day is it happening? How do we plan the day? October 8th, Thursday. The lack of crowd noise, says Kieran, will be particularly risky in certain instances. Cover your ears, or your kids' ears rather, whenever Warnock or Pardew are in the dugout. Is there some kind of delay on the sound?
I'd imagine they'd have a delay system and a mute button.
Mute button.
And I think they would have these things taken into consideration, whereby they're not going to have a microphone right next to the bench, for all that it might add in terms of atmosphere.
Yeah.
How many times a match can you hear a commentator go, well, ladies and gentlemen, we apologise for the colourful language there, pitchside?
Unless in what would be a genius move, come 9:01, they let us have it.
Post-watershed football. The second half tonight of Man City and Arsenal. Getting football a little bit blue.
Yeah, I think
Premier League after dark.
I think 9:01, a number of microphones need to be turned on.
Joe, we should know to make up for it, because the Premier League aren't obviously going to do it because they have a brand to sell worldwide. Turn them up in here.
Yeah,
Have Joe Malloy going, for F's sake.
it's true.
F and stated that.
You and Richie are now back within pen throwing distance of one another. Ever had a pen thrown at you by another colleague? ? I once had a colleague throw a telly at me. True story from Paul. No, nothing like that. Although from the world of radio, no names being named, I have heard tales of a meeting where a chair was thrown against a wall, which is it's pretty heavy, yeah.
I once.
I'd love to name names.
I once witnessed a meeting where the end of it was signalled with the sound of a smashing glass. Again, there's going to be no names mentioned here. They're not in the building anymore, put it that way.
Nor may ever have been in the building.
Oh.
So, Ronan, sorry, I felt like you were trying to come in there at a certain point.
No, I was just going to say, I don't know to what extent voices will boom around the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but you'll remember that when the UFC came back, fighters were openly saying that they changed their tactics mid-fight when they heard what the commentators were saying. So I wonder, is there any potential for Jose Mourinho to turn around on Friday and give it what for if Gary Neville's criticising the tactics or something like that? So that could be a brave new world for football too.
This is Mick McCarthy's time as well. Very sad news. Willie Thorne for a generation.
Absolutely, yeah. Tributes pouring in all day for the popular former snooker player and commentator Willie Thorne, who's passed away at the age of 66. Ken Doherty worked with Thorne in the commentary booth for the BBC and said he was nothing but a joy to be around, while another former world champion, Dennis Taylor, referred to Thorne simply as the great one. Thorne lost his battle with leukemia in Spain last night, as I say, at the very young age of 66.
He had a really tough time of it. He did a newspaper interview. I remember talking about it on the Sunday paper review maybe 6 months ago, and a number of aspects of his life had taken a tough turn of late. So I think it was actually a really tough final few years for.
But always
Willie
been very
Thorne.
open about the issues personally that he'd faced. I think health-wise as well, he'd kind of taken this front on. And I don't think you're going to see a more popular figure in the sport that they represented. The tributes that were flowing in today weren't just the tick box, move on ones. They were genuinely heartfelt from a lot of the snooker community and beyond.
Where are we going next?
Christian Coleman has accused doping authorities of purposefully having him miss a test. The world 100 metres champion has been provisionally suspended for missing a third doping test. Coleman says he was Christmas shopping when testers called to his home on December the 9th of last year. The American sprinter says he's willing to be tested every day of his life to prove his innocence. A subsequent ban may result in Coleman being omitted from next year's Olympic Games.
So how does this work? I presume he's allowed to go Christmas shopping, but they show up at his house. Is he then obliged to get back there within a certain time frame?
Yeah, he has to have his whereabouts. The whereabouts information has to be supplied to the doping authorities.
Yeah.
And this is usually a certain window where you have to be where you say you were going to be. He obviously said he was going to be at home, wasn't there when the testers turned up, and he's saying that is the testers' fault rather than his own for going out Christmas shopping.
But I presume.
But it's now the third time that he's missed a test.
Yeah, no, it's the third time.
That's the issue here. We're looking
big
at.
alarm bells. But I presume you're allowed to leave your house and go Christmas shopping. Like if you say I'm residing at my home address for the next 6 months, it's not like you have to be at your house under lock and key for 6 months. So I don't.
They offer you a specific window where you say you're going to be there. So it's not just you have to. I live here, and then they rock up at any time in 6 months. They say that they're going to be there. You'd say where you're going to be. Two things have to meet, and then we'll.
But is it certain hours of the day you say you have to be there?
That I'm not sure about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I might dig into that. That's interesting. I know it's his third missed test, which obviously isn't good. But if he says I'm doing Christmas shopping nearby and they're at his house, I don't see how that can't be reconciled one way or another.
Turning up to Neiman Marcus with the jug.
Well, I would presume if they ring him and say, look, we're at your house, maybe the rule is you have to be back at in a certain period of time.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen this story before. I'm coming to it fresh, so I haven't looked into it, but we might follow up at some stage. Obviously, Christian Coleman is the world 100 metres champion, so it's a big deal. Somebody else says, has Richie just pulled a Chris Kamara by initially totally missing the biggest talking point of the first half and maybe even the week, the fact that a goal was scored but not counted because of the failure of goal line technology?
Didn't I mention it?
You did, yeah. Jamie in Ballinagar. Where is Ballinagar? Ballinagar, Ronan? That your neck of the woods?
I have no idea.
Okay.
They just made that up.
News from the DDSL.
Yeah, the Dublin and District Schoolboys League has decided to dispense with the FAI's player development plan for under 11 and under 12 players. In a circular, they informed club secretaries that from the start of the 2020-21 season, under 11s will be playing 9-a-side and under 12s will be playing 11-a-side. The DDSL failed to give a reason for the change. Under 11s usually play a 7-a-side format and under 12s usually play 9-a-side to improve ball skills and awareness on the pitch and other little things like that. And it hasn't gone down well with the coaching fraternity in Ireland at the moment.
Really? What's been said? Or
The
what's
likes
the
of
issue?
Stephen Henderson, who's in charge of youth development at Shelburne, has basically said that this is the DDSL going on a solo run and acting while the FAI have their gaze elsewhere, which is fair enough because the talks ongoing today, as we know, between Gary Owens, Noel Quinn and the Premier Division clubs trying to get a financial deal struck. But the DDSL, for whatever reason, and as I say, they haven't given one, have increased the player numbers for these underage sides when the player development plan, which I think we can all agree is done with the best interests of football and young people and trying to get more people on the ball and trying to use things properly, said that you should have 7-a-side and 9-a-side, and the DDSL, again, without reason, without much warning, have said that this is going to be 11-a-sides for under 12s, which is lunacy. But there's, like, Henderson's not alone. There's people who've working with St. Kevin's Boys and Bohemians Youth setups. They're also saying that this is a pretty questionable decision. The FAI themselves haven't commented on it, which would be the interesting thing to hear about from here, and how much jurisdiction they actually have over the DDSL to impose the adequate and proper player numbers per side.
Okay. Ballinagar is in Roscommon. You'll all be happy to know. Serena Williams.
Yep, she's confirmed that she's going to be playing at this year's US Open. The US Tennis Association confirmed today that the Grand Slam will take place behind closed doors at Flushing Meadow from August 31st. The traditional warm-up event at Cincinnati has been moved to the Billie Jean King National Tennis Center in New York. Serena confirmed her Flushing Meadows appearance on Twitter.
So this announcement has been on my mind all day, but ultimately I really cannot wait to return to New York and play the US Open 2020. I feel like the USTA is going to do a really good job of ensuring like everything is amazing and everything is perfect and everyone is safe, and it's going to be exciting. It's been over 6 months since a lot of us have played professional tennis, so it is. I'll certainly miss the fans. Don't get me wrong. Just being out there in that New York crowd and hear everyone cheer, like I'll really miss that and getting me through some of those tough matches. But this is crazy. I'm excited.
Now there's football tomorrow as well. Shane Long.
Yeah, Shane Long is a doubt for Southampton's trip to Norwich. It's on Friday, actually, that game. His manager, Ralph Hasenhüttl, says the Republic of Ireland striker is suffering from a muscle strain. Hasenhüttl, meanwhile, has stripped Pierre-Emile Højbjerg of the club captaincy at Southampton. The midfielder is in his final year of his contract and has spoken of his ambition to join a Champions League club next season. James Ward-Prowse will take over as skipper for the rest of the current campaign.
Racing today?
Yeah. Royal Ascot continuing today. Lord North claimed victory in today's feature race at Royal Ascot, the Prince of Wales' Stakes. The 5-1 shot, ridden by jockey Jamie Doyle and trained by John Gosden, came in ahead of Adabe, with Barney Roy in third. Favourite Japan finished fourth for trainer Aidan O'Brien. O'Brien and Ryan Moore did combine for victory today, with Russian Emperor a 10-3 winner of the Hampton Court Stakes.
Now we're in the midst of the return to football from an English perspective. Premier League back this evening. The Championship are trying to navigate their way through the various protocols as well. They're still testing routinely.
Yeah, and the English Football League confirmed that 8 individuals have tested positive for coronavirus in the latest round of COVID-19 tests at 24 Championship clubs. Meanwhile, there were 4 positive results at League 1 clubs, but 0 at 4 League 2 clubs. Those who have coronavirus will now self-isolate. The playoffs in League 1 and League 2, of course, still continuing, even though the rest of the divisions have come to a close.
We will pause for a moment. I'm being told Nathan Murphy is standing by. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, here we are. I'm told you've had 2 litres of Manuka honey just this week to get that voice back in tip-top shape. How's your pre-season been? How's pre-season been?
A lot like every other one. It was tough to start with, but I've got through it, and I'm ready to go hardcore now. Don't want to discuss my wine intake publicly again.
We are making the decision not to play fake crowd noise this evening. That's hot off the presses.
We've got a lot of games coming up over the next couple of weeks, so I think for tonight and for the 2 games on Sunday, we'll go au natural. I've been watching the Aston Villa Sheffield United game without the crowd noise, and it is interesting listening to the managers, and obviously there was no shortage of controversy in that game, but even the little instructions, enda, drop deeper. So maybe we'll get a little bit more insight than we normally get during a Premier League match, and we'll get a good sense of what the players are saying to each other.
Manchester City against Arsenal is what we have this evening. Is team news in, or we're under an hour away?
Yeah, it is in. It's interesting team news. Arsenal will be very glad to see no Sergio Aguero in the Manchester City starting 11. 2 unusual and maybe, ordinarily would be surprising starting 11s, but obviously both sides just coming back into this fresh, and Pep Guardiola saying that Manchester City simply aren't ready. So it is quite an unusual looking Manchester City starting 11. And likewise, from an Arsenal point of view, just trying to work out what their formation will be. No Mesut Ozil even in the Arsenal squad. And remember, they're allowed 9 substitutions as part of Project Restart. So I'll go through the 2 teams. For Manchester City, Ederson in goals, a back 4 of Kyle Walker, Aymeric Laporte, Eric Garcia and Benjamin Mendy. In midfield, it'll be Ilkay Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne and David Silva. And then a front 3 of Riyad Mahrez on the right, Raheem Sterling on the left and Gabriel Jesus through the centre. Sergio Aguero, sensational record against Arsenal, 11 in 15 games. Generally seems to turn it on, including in this fixture last season when he scored a hat-trick. But Aguero sitting this one out from the start with Gabriel Jesus coming in. For Arsenal then, Bernd Leno's in goals. Their back 4 will be Hector Bellerin, Pablo Mari, Shkodran Mustafi and Kieran Tierney. From there forward, it'll be interesting to see. Granit Xhaka and Matteo Guendouzi are the 2 traditional central midfielders, and they picked 4 attacking players then. In Bukayo Saka, who you'd expect will play out on the left-hand side. Joe Willock, who may well play on the right, with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, likely to play up pretty much alongside Eddie Nketiah, but no Mesut Ozil in the squad at all. The Manchester City bench is out of this world in the depth of quality. Scott Carson is their substitute goalkeeper, still hanging around there. Also on the bench, Aguero, Zinchenko, Rodri, Sane, Bernardo Silva, Fernandinho, Nicolas Otamendi and Phil Foden. It is probably the best bench there has ever been in the history of the Premier League.
Pep Guardiola's point is that we've only had 3 weeks training. The Bundesliga had 5-6 weeks. We've had 3 weeks. There's no way we can be anything even approaching match fit.
And I also wonder how match fit they want to be right now. Obviously, they're very keen to avoid injuries. But whereas most teams want to peak between now and the end of the Premier League season, Manchester City really want their peak to be end of July, beginning of August for that Champions League run over the space of a week. That's really when they want to be at their peak this season. You would expect that they will go on and finish in the top 4, whether that'll be enough with all else that's going on for them to play in the Champions League. But he's going to have to be very careful that they don't pick any long-term injuries, because it's going to be hectic. They play Burnley on Monday night. They've got Chelsea next Thursday, Newcastle then on the Sunday, Liverpool the following Thursday. So that's 5 massive games in the space of literally 2 weeks. So you can understand why he's thinking like that. But it will be one of the interesting dynamics as the season goes on as to what teams are like physically, and do the teams still involved in Europe want to peak maybe a little bit later than some of the teams who are in the relegation fight right now. From Arsenal's point of view, they're still not out of it in terms of qualifying for the Champions League. They are 9th in the table. They had been on a decent run, their best run just before the break set in. They'd won 3 games in a row, but away from home, they've drawn each of their last 5 matches in the Premier League. And generally, when these two meet, I was at the Emirates before Christmas for Manchester City's 3-0 victory. It could have been 8-0. I was at the Etihad last season for this fixture. It could have been 8-0. Every time Manchester City play Arsenal, they seem to just absolutely rip them apart. And I would be fearful for Arsenal tonight if Manchester City can get anywhere near their level as the sort of damage they could do.
OK, very good. 8:15 kickoff. Nathan, thanks a million.
Cheers, Joe.
Nathan Murphy alongside Brian Kerr this evening. We'll talk to Brian after the ad break. Richie, any last story or two you want to bring us?
Yeah, an interesting one. If you're a Bournemouth fan, Ryan Fraser has rejected a short-term contract extension at Bournemouth. You'll know that players' deals usually run out on June the 30th. The season's obviously going to extend beyond then, but Fraser has decided against renewing his contract there, at least in the short term, meaning he'll be free to leave the club as of June 30th. Simon Francis, Andrew Sermon, Artur Boruc and Charlie Daniels have all agreed deals to keep them at the English South Coast club until the end of the current campaign, which of course resumed tonight. And with 67 minutes played, Dave McGoldrick is coming on for Sheffield United among others. It is still Aston Villa 0, Sheffield United 0.
Ronan Mullen, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Richie McCormack here in studio, thank you. Good to have you back.
Cheers,
short ad break and then Brian Kerr with us.
And I can tell you that at Villa Park, with only moments to go, it's 3-3. Villa were 3-1 up. And if it stays that way there and the same way here, Liverpool will be champions. Well, Liverpool have done their part. They have won.
And the news from Villa is that they have drawn. Liverpool are the champions.
It's great just to have won the championship again, obviously. You know, the lads here have been magnificent. We've had quite a bit of criticism throughout the season, but we've only had 1 defeat in the league since November, and I think that speaks for itself. They can't dispute their ability. There's nobody can dispute that. At the end of the day, they've come away and they've won it, and they've deserved to win it because they're the best.
How long does it take before you start thinking about winning it next year?
Well, I don't know. We need to start right away, I suppose.
Oh, and Gerrard slipped, and Denver Barr's in here. Out comes Mignolet, but Barr punishes of all people Steven Gerrard. It's a terrific moment for Chelsea, but an awful one for the Liverpool skipper.
It's Firmino who scores. It's 5 for Liverpool. It's 3 for Roberto Firmino. And Liverpool tighten their grip at the top of the Premier League table.
It's not that I'm not out there a lot over this. I don't know if the people run through the streets and like this constantly. I don't know. But people like how the boys are performing, how the boys are playing. People love the results. For sure, that's all clear. But nobody. I think that's a lack of respect to think that our fans want to know now. Or want to celebrate now already, like this, we will do it. We are not the group we were 10, 15 years ago, or even 20 years ago. We are not. It's different. And we are in a really good position in that group of challengers. That's it.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. When you've done your hammer during PE with Joe, relax. The football's back. Gamble responsibly. See dunleary.net.
Relax this evening and visit itsforwomen.ie. Great value car insurance for those on the go. Get the cover you need day or night at itsforwomen.ie. It's time to own it.
Rediscover the joy of driving with a Volkswagen Assurance Plan. Enjoy our flexible and supportive 202 offers, like PCP finance from 0% APR, purchase contributions of up to €2,000, and payment deferrals. We even guarantee the minimum future value of your Volkswagen. Search Volkswagen 202 today. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit volkswagen.ie/202 for further information. Volkswagen.
The wait is finally over and sport is back on Now TV.
It's lights out and away we go!
Where you can watch Sky Sports, Premier Sports and BT Sport together and all without a contract.
What a fantastic part.
So whether there's a day, week or whole month of action you just can't miss, you can now stream the lot.
Oh, it's a fabulous goal!
This is your sport on your terms. Search Now TV Sports to find out more. 18 plus, content streamed via internet. Full terms apply.
Now is the time to get out there and check into a Clayton hotel. We've plenty of space and incredible deals, so you can enjoy a great escape. You'll love our wide, open lounges and spacious rooms and restaurants in superb locations all over Ireland. Don't delay. Experience Clayton's affordable luxury while you can. Relax and unwind in our wonderful spaces at great rates. Book a break at Clayton Hotels from a very special €99 per night at claytonhotels.com. Terms and conditions apply. Get match ready at Tesco with these game-changing deals. Get the ball rolling with our Fire Pit Irish Quarter Pounder beef burgers, buffalo-style chicken wings and mustard sausages, any 3 for €10. Settle halftime nerves with Doritos tortilla chips, 7-Up and Pepsi 2-litre bottles, any 3 for €5. And when the ball hits the net, celebrate with Heineken, Bulmers and Rockshore 20-bottle boxes, only €20. Or selected 8-can packs for just €12. Tesco. Every little helps. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
If your Volkswagen is in need of a service, we've introduced new hygiene initiatives and remote consultations across all Volkswagen retailers. We're open and here to help in a way that works for you, all as part of our Volkswagen Safer Measures. Talk to us about our low and no contact services and how we can provide contactless handovers and car sanitisation. We're also available to help you with any new and used sales inquiries, both online and over the phone. For more information about all our safety initiatives, visit volkswagen.ie/safer measures.
Switch to 3 Bill Pay today and get a top-of-the-range smartphone for the guilt-free price of just $9.99. Choose from the amazing iPhone XR, iPhone SE or the Samsung S10e. All plans come with all-you-can-eat data with no usage limits, so you can stream, download and connect to your heart's content. Switch in store or at 3.ie. 3. Make it count. From €45 a month, direct debit and 24-month minimum term applies. All you can eat data, ROI only, see 3.ie.
The Pat Kenny Show.
On tomorrow's programme, the social media trolls targeting Ireland, extolling the joys of the staycation, the deals on wheels that are on offer from the motoring brands. Could the Renaissance painter Raphael have died from too much sex? And of course, the breaking news.
The Pat Kenny Show.
With Jaguar.
Tomorrow morning at 9.
On News Talk. Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. When you've done your hammer during PE with Joe, relax. The football's back. Gamble responsibly. See dunleary.net.
What type of midfielder is Herrera? He's not a box-to-box, he's not defensive, he can't do a killer pass. Why is he on the pitch for? For what? City have come here and bossed us at Old Trafford. This is Man United talking. City have come here and bossed us. Rojo, what was his tactics? As soon as you get Rojo, just boot it. We're not Stoke. We're Man United here. Watch. That was diabolical, that. Martial is playing against a centre midfielder in doubt. Take the on. Take him on and do it. We're Man United here. That was diabolical.
Yeah, Manchester United in action tomorrow against Spurs. The Premier League really kicking off now, and the pace will continue for the next couple of weeks. It's 0-0 still at Villa Park. Not exactly the classic they were hoping for to resume things. 0-0, 76 minutes on the clock. Coming up at 8:15, we'll bring you commentary of Manchester City against Arsenal. Brian Kerr will be alongside Nathan Murphy. I'm hoping you can hear me now. Brian, are you there?
Yeah, I can. I can hear you now, Joe, all as well, from
Great.
far away.
Some technical fun and games, but we're up and running.
Yeah, indeed we are. Indeed we are. Let's hope it stays with us for the full game tonight, because it's an exciting looking game.
It's been a while, obviously, since football has been with us, so it's great to have it back. Can I hit you with two things from home, firstly, before we get into Premier League business?
Sure.
Just on the League of Ireland, I want to get your sense of, well, I know things aren't progressing overly brilliantly, but where the blame lies, if there's any even to apportion, because these are difficult circumstances. So to sum things up for the listeners, I'm sure you're on top of this, but Garrett Kelleher was pretty blunt this week in saying that Gary Owens and Niall Quinn have failed, and failed badly was his phrase. Wrong moves, naive moves. They have lost his confidence. Last night, for instance, to take the temperature, we had David Rowe on, the treasurer at Sligo Rovers. He wasn't as
Joe,
critical.
You've just gone.
Am I gone? Can you hear me?
Something's happened here. I've lost Joe.
You've lost me. Okay, we haven't lost you. You've lost me. You're gone, Brian, are you?
Lads, I've lost Joe.
Okay, we'll pull down Brian's fader there, fellas. So there's Brian Kerr. He's gone. Nathan Murphy, are you gone? Everyone's gone. I would say, listeners, this is going not well on the whole. We'll probably take a short break, fellas. Is that the best thing to do? Apologies. We are in the midst of, as you can imagine, trying to do this not from the Premier League grounds, and we're not having Nathan and Brian sit beside each other in a small booth somewhere. So a few teething problems, but kick-off is at 8:15, so we will get things sorted out very shortly. I'm told, can you hear me again?
I can hear you, Joe. I heard up to the point where you were talking about Garrett Kelleher's letter to the FAI. That was as far as I heard too.
Okay. Well then, last night we took we tried to take a bit of a temperature check. David Rowe was on, treasurer at Sligo Rovers. He was less critical, although he was absolutely straight in saying there is still a big gap here in terms of us being able to get back playing and financially feeling okay about that. There is still a big gap. Ollie Horgan was on from Finn Harp, said something similar, although wasn't again as critical of the FAI. And then today in the papers I see there was word from the Dundalk chairman, Bill Hulizer, excuse me pronunciation. The Dundalk chairman apparently had offered some financial assistance to underwrite some of the costs. That's still up in the air. I don't know where that is. Anyway, these are some of the soundings going on. These conversations have been happening for, well, months now at this stage. It doesn't seem as if the league is all that much closer to resuming. The FAI have said for their part they don't want to provide cash guarantees themselves. They want more certainty from either the government or from FIFA. So, look, there is a cash gap. Somebody's going to have to stump up the money. First of all, on Kelleher's point, the criticism of the FAI, do you share that view?
Well, the criticism wasn't of the FAI in totality. The criticism was of Gary Owens and Niall
Yes,
Quinn's
but they're
efforts.
working on behalf of the FAI in this regard, so it's a tantamount to the same thing.
Yeah, well, no, I think if you, having read the letter, he actually was encouraging more involvement from other people on the board who have a lot more experience than Gary Owens or Niall Quinn have in relation to dealing with the FAI, in relation to dealing with League of Ireland football.
Yeah.
And that was what he was suggesting, that there hadn't been enough involvement of people. You know, and the truth of it is, like, Gary Owens, I wouldn't say, had been to an awful lot of League of Ireland matches in the last number of years or been involved directly with clubs. Niall, as you know, has spent a lot of time working in England and working for Sky on Sundays and, you know, Friday nights into Saturday. I wouldn't say he was at a fierce number of games. So I think the direct contacts with clubs and the various personalities would be quite limited compared to the likes of Dick Shakespeare, Paul Cook and Martin Herity of Sligo Rovers, who are on the board, and even the president, Jerry McInerney, played in the League of Ireland and goes to an awful lot of League of Ireland games. So I think that's where Gary's criticism that was aimed at the fact that they didn't appear to be involving the people who were close to the League of Ireland in trying to find a solution to this one. But the core problem with all this, Joe, is that there's no money there. The FAI, because of the behaviour of the previous regime, there is no money in the pot, and they're 52 or 60 million in debt, depending on who you listen to. And currently, they aren't able to generate any money because the source of income should be from games, number one, from coaching courses are quite lucrative for them. The summer camps are quite lucrative. If I remember correctly, there was a figure of 6.5 million in last year's figures of accounts for courses and summer camps. So that's all gone out the window. The sponsorship area is struggling badly because there's nothing really to sponsor. There's no games happening, and the prospect of games might be clearing up, but it's about numbers in stadiums. Even if you get to 18,500 in Aviva Stadium, you're still only going to generate around £1 million mark or £1.5 million or that type of figure. Not going to make an awful lot of difference. So it's a lack of cash in the pot that's the core problem here. So there's a lot of frustration on the part of, I'm sure, the people for Gary Owens and Niall trying to solve the problem, but more so for the clubs who want to get back playing football. And I don't know what the answer is. I did hear that there had been offers of the loan of money from a source around the Dundalk team. But then again, did the FAI need another loan? I mean, they've got a lot of loans out there already that they're trying to repay.
Yeah, so it really, I mean, Paul Cook and Dick Shakespeare, I mean, if they could magic up the money, I'm sure they would. That is the bottom line here. We're waiting on government intervention, or it seems FIFA, it won't happen until the 26th of June. 26th of June, FIFA may release some funds, but obviously that's still a while away yet.
Yeah, but Joe, you know, the government, they've had to go cap in hand to the government back around late December into early January to get over the first hump, which was to achieve enough money to pay the wages of the staff, of the 200 staff there, which they did achieve that. And then there was obviously a more longer term agreement where the government were providing substantial amounts of money. Now, so going back to the government again, looking for more money in the League of Ireland, is a difficult one in where the process at the moment is that we don't have a government, but we nearly have a government. We had a government that's there, that are on the way out. And like, for instance, talking to Shane Ross, for instance, over the last month or two, when he is more or less a dead duck, his time is up. Was that not a waste of time, given that? But we don't know who the new person is going to be in charge of the department of that, the sport parts of that ministry, which involves transport and a few other things as well. So it's quite complicated.
That next minister is going to be thinking more about tourism than anything, and if the Green Party have their way, transport's going to be top of the bill too.
For sure, and sport might not be
might not.
And if you take on board that we've already had considerable help from UEFA. It looks like we went in early and got our funds from UEFA. We drew down money that wasn't due for some time yet. So going back to them, FIFA are incredibly slow to move on these things and making decisions. So I think the difficulty for the clubs, not just St Patrick's Athletic, has been, as I understand it, there was a lot of promises made or suggestions made that there would be money, a substantial amount in the pot, that there would be a streaming system in play that clubs could generate money from it among their fans that would compensate for the lack of numbers at matches. But that hasn't got across the line for whatever reason, and it seems to be, and I understand that Garrett's frustration was that there was numerous deadlines not made in terms of the money being available.
Okay, well that does tie in, to be fair, with what David Rowe said last night, that maybe if they've done anything in particular wrong here, they have probably over-promised and under-delivered, and that maybe is the reason for the frustration. So if everything you're saying there, it looks like we're waiting on FIFA, really, doesn't it?
Well, I would hope not. I would hope that they can pull some other rabbit out of the hat or agreement in place. I mean, they've already suggested that the clubs who have qualified for Europe will donate a substantial amount of their prize money into the pot, and those 4 clubs have said no, they're not prepared to do that. I saw where a couple of the clubs in the Northern Ireland League, part of Niffle, had agreed to do that. I think Coleraine and Linfield had agreed to do that. But anyway, it perfectly entitled those clubs to say no, but you know that was going to be part of the sum that was going to be distributed among the clubs. So I don't know where they're going to come up with another pot of money. And then there's also pressure from the PFAI and their spokespeople Stuart Gilhooly and Steve McGuinness, in terms of saying every club has to pay the full amount of every line of the contract, which is another problem in the whole picture.
Right. Okay, well,
I'm not optimistic, Joe. No. I just think it's a very difficult time for everyone, and the people that come into the FAI have come into the eye of a storm in relation to the COVID and the consequences of no international games being played and no ability to generate funds. That's the core issue.
Yeah, it's not an easy one. One last point, in the midst of all this, did you see this news about the DDSL this evening?
I didn't.
So there was a note sent out on behalf of the DDSL to all club secretaries, and they said basically going forward, under 11s we're now going up to 9-a-side instead of the 7-a-side, and under 12s we're going up to 11-a-side instead of 9-a-side, which is a break away from the FAI's player development plan for those age groups. So they're saying we're going under 11s 9-a-side, under 12s 11-a-side. Breaks away from the FAI's player development plan. They don't give a reason for the move. It's drawn a bit of criticism from different coaches on Twitter. I know relations are tetchy given the National League plans and various things going on and summer football and all this stuff. What's your interpretation of that?
It sounds like if they have just decided on that without discussion with the FAI and the technical department of the FAI, that they're on a bit of a solo run in relation to that. The DDSL have been the most powerful underage unit in schoolboy football, and probably have the most teams under their charge in the whole of Europe as regards schoolboy football in particular. Now, they've also been responsible for producing those leagues have produced consistently huge numbers of players for our national teams at all age groups. They, again, may feel that they were not consulted deeply enough when changes were made in the technical plan to reduce the numbers playing at the different age groups below under 13, when the pitch sizes were changed and the number per team was changed. You know, if they've gone off on a solo run, they need to start the consultation process fairly quickly with the FAI. Obviously, in these times when the lack of face-to-face meetings and people coming upon each other to discuss fixtures and the future of the game in large numbers or even in small numbers, it's all been Zoom calls and it's not particularly satisfactory. This is one of the outcomes that's come, but I don't know enough about that. But it does seem like a strange one to go out on a solo run. That it isn't the SFAI who have a representative on the board, on the current board of the FAI. The SFAI have a member on that, so you would think that it wouldn't be a DDSL decision alone. It would be coming from the SFAI, who are the specialists on underage football and have to be respected for their expertise, just as I'm saying that people that are involved in the League of Ireland for years and years and know the individual personalities, their opinion has to be respected when you go trying to change the season or fix the season in the situation we're having at the moment, and that seems to be their frustration. So maybe the schoolboys, the DDSL in particular, powerful league in terms of the number of games that they manage on a week-to-week basis when the season's gone, you know, their voice has to be heard as well.
Okay. Irish football is never dull at the moment, to say the least. Brian, we'll take a short ad break. It's Premier League all the way from then on. Brian Kerr, Nathan Murphy, Manchester City Arsenal is coming your way. It's 0-0 still, by the way, between Aston Villa and Sheffield United. 90 minutes on the clock.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. When you've done your hammer during PE with Joe, relax. The football's back. Gamble responsibly. See dunleary.net.
Panadol presents Homegrown Heroes. When communities come together, ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Meet Fergus Lennon, a volunteer with Blood Bike Leinster.
We started Blood Bike Leinster back in 2013. We transport blood and blood products and medical items between different hospitals.
The active ingredients in Panadol Extra Soluble relieve 5 types of tough pain to help you meet pain with strength and keep doing what matters most. Panadol Extra 500mg, 65mg soluble effervescent tablets. Contains paracetamol. Always read the label leaflet.
At Skoda, our new ozone sterilization system kills 99% of viruses and bacteria in every car. Good to know when buying an approved used Skoda. And across our new range, get a finance offer from 0% and a 3-month payment holiday. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit skoda.ie for further information.
Every dog is his day, I'll tell you. We're heading out. Yeah, as in outside the whole family. For the first time in ages, the car is washed and polished and the insurance sorted online with the AA. And after having nothing to look at but this lot for the last while, when I hit those open spaces, I'm gone. And I'm not coming back. Well, until they get the ice creams out, baby.
Right now at the AA, we're offering our best ever discounts on car insurance. With €100 off when you purchase online. And up to 10% off your quote when you buy AA membership. Who's got clever car insurance? For all new quotes, please visit the AA.ie. Terms and conditions apply. Minimum premium of €280 applies. AA Ireland Limited Trading as AA Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Now, more than ever, is time to master your ambition. With online learning at IT Sligo, be like Bridget in Wexford, who earned her degree in environmental science, or Richard in Cork, who used Springboard to upskill in project management, or James in Galway, who mastered marketing. Where will online learning at IT Sligo take you? With 140 online courses and Springboard funding available, now is the time to visit itsligo.ie/online learning.
OK, Dad, Father's Day coming up. What's top of your bucket list?
Oh, that's easy, son. To be gifted a car air freshener shaped like a tree from my favourite son.
Well, what if you won big with this National Lottery scratch card I got you?
I'd get a new car for the air freshener.
Surprise your dad this Father's Day and bring his bucket list to life with over 9 million in cash prizes to be won instantly with a Golden Fours or Lucky 7 scratch card from the National Lottery. Play responsibly, play for fun. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Weekly Super Savers from Lidl mean delicious meals for your family for less. From Thursday, get 2 28-day matured Irish sirloin steaks for just €4. Fresh skinless salmon darns are down from €4.19 to just €3. And 400 grams of juicy Irish strawberries are only €2.99. Lidl, more for you.
The wait is finally over and sport is back on Now TV.
It's lights out and away we go!
Where you can watch Sky Sports, Premier Sports and BT Sport together and all without a contract.
What a fantastic part.
So whether there's a day, week or whole